Let's cross now to Nick Harper, who is our reporter on the ground in Wilmington, Delaware, where Joe Biden is tonight. Nick, what is the latest where you are?
Well, this has been the home city of Joe Biden for almost 70 years. He has a lot of support in this city. It's the city that he's decided to spend tonight. He's at home at the moment watching these results come in with his family, but the party is getting underway in the other side of the building just behind me. He's going to be holding a drive-in rally later in the evening. It's his election night event, and we are expecting Joe Biden at some point this evening to come out and speak to his supporters, but we may not have a result, and that is the big concern at this point. We're at 11 o'clock Eastern time here in the United States. At this time in elections past, we have had winners announced. That doesn't look as if it will happen tonight, and I imagine there's perhaps a little bit of nervousness creeping in the Biden camp. They were hoping to get some big wins earlier in the night, the likes of Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, Ohio. None of those states seem to be heading in their direction, but a silver lining of sorts. It looks as if they may have picked up Arizona, flipping it from the Republicans, a state that hasn't voted blue since Bill Clinton 24 years ago. It's certainly a considerable win for Joe Biden if he has picked up Arizona. Also picking up New Hampshire, a toss-up state that he was hoping to get. But as we heard just a moment ago, it will be those Rust Belt Midwest states, Wisconsin, Michigan and Pennsylvania, which it looks as if will once again decide the election. But officials in all three of those states, in some of the biggest cities, in Detroit, Milwaukee and Philadelphia, saying that they will not be able to count all of the votes tonight. They won't get it done until tomorrow at the earliest, which essentially means that it will delay the results in those states and therefore probably delay the overall result in this election.
Nick, can you just explain to us with a bit of detail how the vote count is conducted? Because obviously you had overwhelming numbers of people early voting. Do all the states start counting them at the same time, or how does it work?
It's very complicated, and every single state seems to have different rules. In the same way that they can set their poll opening and closing times, they can also set how and when and in which order they count those votes. So some states, like Pennsylvania, didn't start counting any votes that they received early until today, until election day. Other states started counting them as they received them. And then in some states, they prioritize certain types of votes over others. So, for example, they might start counting the mail-in ballots before they count the in-person votes. In other states, it's the other way around. It's a very complicated system, each single state seeming to having a slightly different set of rules. But it does mean that in the big urban centers, the likes of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which will be a crucial city in a crucial state, it will take a long time to sort through all those votes, those many votes that came in early through the postal votes and the early voting, and then the walk-in votes that we had today, people voting on election day itself.
Yeah, tell us about the walk-in votes in Wilmington. Were there many?
In Wilmington, Delaware, not so many were expected. In some states, there is this provision that you can turn up to vote on the day, even if you're not registered. Overall, across the country, the thinking always was that it would be Democrats by an overwhelming majority that would try and vote early, either in person or by the postal ballots, and it would be Republican voters who would turn up on the day in person and vote. Remember, Donald Trump, of course, pushing that unverified claim that postal ballots were open to fraud, and therefore his supporters, many of them, avoided that method of voting, instead of choosing to vote in person.
Oh, there's technology for you. We've got a bit glitchy with Nick Harper there, who is our reporter on the ground in Wilmington, Delaware. Now, one thing that Nick was mentioning there is some American networks are calling Arizona for Joe Biden. And Dan, what's the significance of that?
Well, this may be a reemergence of concern with coronavirus because, in fact, Arizona has an increasingly growing population of the elderly. And although it has tended to vote Republican, in this particular case, because President Trump's concern with coronavirus has been so minimal, this may reflect a changing attitude, at least as regards elderly.
And this would be, tonight, the first Trump state to be flipped to the Democrats.
Yeah, it's a major change.
And remind us, how many electoral college votes does that carry, Arizona? 11. Okay, thanks, Dan. That is Dan Zerker, who is our US political expert.